What is the fastest way you have seen a new coworker get fired? Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and all that other stuff. Now let's get started. During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera 1 hour in. This is the opposite route here, but I found it amusing. My boss was out of town, and I managed a tea shop near a Starbucks years ago. This kid came in, he was 4, and said he was supposed to start today. We were hiring, and I trained him, and so on. My boss came back 2 days later and had no idea. This kid was in the wrong place, but he stayed with us. Hired on the spot without even applying. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant in front of a safety rep for the company. His supervisor was called over, and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a pee test, and he used his only bottle of clean pee earlier that day when he hired him. Everyone standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off site. Even the supervisor was all smiles. Just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. A week. I worked in a bar and a new girl started at work. She seemed a little rough, but was fine. One day, she finished the shift, sat at the bar, and ordered a red wine with lemonade and ice in it. Not really relevant to the story, just shows she is clearly insane. Her boyfriend came in. They had a huge domestic in front of my manager and several customers. And add in that she threw a drink over her boyfriend and dramatically stormed out. No bar drink, wine plus lemonade equals a domestic. You love to say it. I'm gonna call it the winestic. I heard this from a manager I worked with when I worked in fast food. There was this one kid who didn't show up for work. He ditched work often, so the manager called around, couldn't get anyone to fill in his shift, so we had to fill it for him. A few hours into his shift, the dude ditching shows up with his friend and orders food from that manager. She fired him on the spot. First day of work, he walks in, says, "What the fuck is up, dumbass?" to the guy that parked next to him. Didn't touch his new Camaro he bought since he got hired. The guy was the CEO of the company I used to work for. On visit to our branch. Literally 10 minutes later into his shift, he was signing release papers. We had a recent college grad that would use his corporate card for personal purchases. He figured that the company would just keep deducting from his payroll until it was paid off. He was fired after 3 months of constant reminders to stop doing it. I don't think it qualifies as the fastest because he lasted 3 months, but it was so idiotic. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. The boss told one to take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him because it was a big order. They never came back. They quit a construction job to steal and split the cash from a few coffee orders. I imagine if they'd stayed and worked a full day, they would have earned more than that. Well, yeah, but it's hard work. You expect anyone to do hard work? The guy got hired while going through orientation, realized that his ex-girlfriend worked there too, turned around, and walked right out the front door. My man. This was a while ago at my old job. New guy gets hired as a busboy. He was super annoying and tried to insert himself into everyone's conversation, whether they wanted him there or not. It took only a couple of hours for the whole restaurant to hate him. I was working the bar and he kept eating the bar fruit. I personally didn't care, but the manager did. The manager comes over and tells him to stop eating the fruit. He looks the manager in the eye and replies with, "Alright man, calm down. I can tell you got that big dick energy for a good reason." Followed with a cliche wink and nudge from his elbow. In front of me and like 4 other employees. I wanted to slam my face into the ice bin. It was so cringy to witness. He promptly walked out the front door 10 minutes later without his uniform on anymore. The worst thing about it was the manager was an insanely laid-back guy. Hell, the whole restaurant was insanely laid back. You really had to try hard to get fired from this place. Had he not thrown in that big dick line, I am almost positive he would have just gotten a slap on the wrist and kept the job. Why would you say you have big dick energy to anyone, let alone your boss? That's what I want to know. Not sure if it counts as being fired, but a guy in our basic training threatened a drill sergeant with a bayonet. No idea what happened after he went to the hospital, but I didn't see him ever again. I worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws, then proceeded to put it back. And then the rest of the lobsters were promptly murdered by the unclawed lobster. I got hired as a long-term temp with one person to do some basic data entry work at a major brand pretty much everyone has heard of. And it was their corporate headquarters, so pretty prestigious. Anyway, we went through all of that onboarding stuff in the morning that required us to get photo IDs and figure out parking and all that stuff. Then after 2 or 3 hours, we were introduced to one of the employees in our department, who began going over what we were going to be doing. None of it seemed overly difficult, and I figured that while it was a new system I'd never used before, I'd be able to work it out in a few days as long as I asked questions and took notes. And that was the thing that made me realize that the other person who got hired with me probably lied on her resume and was completely out of her depth. She didn't take any notes, she didn't ask any questions, and whenever I glanced at her, I could see flashes of panic on her face. Well, lunchtime came, and when we came back, she said that another company had called her and offered her a permanent position, and that she couldn't work with us any longer. Both me and the person training us knew what was going on, but I'll give the other lady credit for finding a way out without losing face too badly. The takeaway here is, yes, fake it until you make it can and does work, but you gotta be able to fake it. You can't fake faking it. A 19-year-old kid got hired to work at a seafood counter. See him twice and then never again. I asked a coworker what happened. He had closed seafood one night and was walking out of the store, and the 5 pounds of crab legs he'd stuffed down the back of his pants fell out in front of the closing manager. The new guy started on Monday and was gone by Friday. The guy hit some racking in the warehouse with the forklift. Boss saw him do it, and the guy decided to lie about it when asked if he knew what happened. This was a pizza place I worked at in college. The new guy started on Thursday. Fine worker. We showed him the ropes. He was on subs, which is the easiest job. The instructions are right in front of your face. Friday, he no calls, no shows. It's Friday, the busiest night of the week, and he and I were the only kitchen workers that weren't also drivers. Monday, a police officer shows up at the restaurant looking for him. No idea what happened as he wasn't there. Tuesday, the owner informed me he was let go. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and all that other stuff. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.